definition of a folk art is something that evolves organically out of a community of the people. So with graffiti, it was something that started with kids in Philadelphia and New York in the late 60s, early 70s, and has just continued. Graffiti writers write their name, and they write their name for recognition, they write their name for fame. The public in general views graffiti or graffiti writers as vandals and associate it with gang graffiti a lot of times, which I think is unfortunate. It's not. It's a completely different subculture. A lot of graffiti writers have crossed over to be what is called street art. Street art is, it's a lot of different things. Like it can be wheat pasting, it can be murals, it can be all sorts of things. Initially, it would have been illegal too. Atlanta's going through some legislation right now, and as far as I know, it was passed and then it was pushed back into the revising period. There was a good bit of protest from artists and community. To get a mural, you'd have to get permitted through the city of Atlanta. So you would first have to get permission from the property owner, and then you would have to make a proposal, get community acceptance, and then you'd have to bring it before the city of Atlanta. So as far as I understand, it's a several month process. For Cabbagetown wallkeepers, I have decided to ignore that, not out of disrespect, but because the community says we trust what you're doing here. The businesses, the community, for the most part, has been a completely positive response. I've decided that because the legislation is still kind of up in the air, not to deal with it. I'm not going to. One of the main reasons that the wallkeepers exist is to maintain a low level of vandalism on the wall, and also to beautify the neighborhood. So the Krog Tunnel that's just to my left here is full of, I guess what you'd call it, traditional graffiti, and just kind of scrabble from kids that come in and write all over everything. To me, it's just a mess. It's not even. It's just kind of a no man's land. I feel like it's my duty, and maybe karmically, or maybe just as a Cabbagetown resident, to give back. I think I've written my name on these walls 20 years ago illegally, and to come back and be able to put art up and work with other graffiti writers and other muralists and street artists to make something really kind of cool in the community. I would say I mediate between the graffiti writers and the community.
This is the Boulevard Tunnel. Several years ago, it was a dingy gray tunnel with trash lining the sidewalks. Through the Boulevard Tunnel initiative, nonprofit art collective Living Walls, and Cabbagetown residents were able to work together to create this vibrant sea of color. The Boulevard Tunnel initiative continues to work to keep the space clean and free of graffiti throughout the year.
Company as their graphic designer, in-house artist. I've been fascinated by graffiti, and this is just a more refined form, I guess. It's always extremely daunting to see the wall that you're about to paint because blank canvases are terrifying. I mean, I worked on a regular scale painting canvases for all of my education, and I was presented with an opportunity to paint a mural, and I just kind of figured it out as I went along. Usually I work closely with the owners of whatever building or wall that I'm going to be painting, and we kind of brainstorm to collaborate on an idea that reflects our company as well as theirs, kind of merge them together.
What is your inspiration?
It sounds ridiculous, but just browsing and seeing other people's creations, especially local artists, it's extremely inspiring because you can just walk outside and see a mural anywhere and say, cool, I want to do something like that. I mean, I think it brings life to the city. For example, this trail, the Beltline, it would be a whole lot less exciting to walk through a city and see just gray tunnels.
It's interesting because it's like, this is sort of like a meld of two sort of different bodies. Like Forward Warrior, which Peter Farry's, that's his baby rather. He did Forward Warrior down here on the stretch of Wiley Street, and they have about 20 murals. And then so that, that I think everyone loved that, the whole community and everything. So then Sam Parker, which is one of the wall keepers here, he was like, well, you know what, Cabbagetown really likes what Forward Warrior did, and they want more art. So he knows a lot of local artists. He's a very well-established local artist, and he was like, I went up to him. I was like, hey, I would love to do, like, I haven't done a mural like in 10 years. I would love to do one on Wiley Street. So he was like, okay, and they approved it, and I got out here, and then that's when I did this guy. And then so that was like the first phase. Then about 2 months later, I did this guy, and then 2 weeks ago I did this guy. Yeah. So I basically usually start off with like a black ink pen, and then I put down the color later. But with my process with the mural here, it's different. Like I put down the base color first, and then I go ahead and outline it later.
Why paint in a public space?
For the most part, I mean, I don't know, I just like sort of want my stuff to be outside and see how people really take it in. Because I'll do shows where like, I'll have a piece where it definitely has like a clear underlying kind of meaning. And I've had people come up to me and be like, oh man, like, can I tell you, what I think this means? And they tell me what it means to them, and I'm like, oh wow, that's not what I was intending at all, but I like it, like it's cool, So I don't know, with the outside stuff, I want to get a little bit more experimental, like sort of have my next projects like play with like the environment around them, like, because I realize that's what it is about murals. People like, people like taking pictures in front of them and stuff. So, I don't know. The next one I want to be a little bit more high concept and sort of involved with like its surroundings, so.
This wall belongs to the infamously dubbed Murder Kruger. Murder Kruger is currently attempting to rebrand itself as the Beltline Kruger and has commissioned this large mural via the Loss Prevention in hopes of reshaping Kruger's image. The Loss Prevention is an art and design collective which conducts large-scale murals and sign work throughout Atlanta. According to their website, thelossprevention.net, the Loss Prevention operates as a conduit for underground artists and innovators to showcase their unique talents both here in Atlanta and across the country. They offer labor as well as design services on murals contracted by businesses throughout the city. I spoke with Sean Garrett, the founder of the Loss Prevention, and he explained that this design was born out of a contest won by a group of Georgia State University students with the work commissioned by Kruger. When I first arrived, the wall looked very much like a humongous coloring book, dwarfing the artist spraying and rolling paint between the lines. Passerby quipped, "It's like they're bringing life to the murder Kruger." And several others throughout the days of painting stopped to give their appreciation as well as their admiration for the work that the guys with the Loss Prevention are doing. What strikes me as most important to the value of public art is is that it reflects the values and goals of the neighborhood in which it inhabits. In the case of Sam and Edgar in Cabbagetown, their goal is beautification. In the case of Elise and Red Hair, it is cooperation. In the case of Beltline Kroger, it is meant to signal a new day. Without a symbiotic relationship between artist and community, these works would have no permanence. But it is the hope of all of these artists that their works may help to shape the lives of those who pass on a daily basis.